Dang, when I set these recordings up, I didn't think that this week would be so tiresome for me. I just wanted to clarify one thing off the bat. No, espresso macchiato isn't a spaghetti western. I know what a spaghetti western is. I thought I would just make the joke that his name is Tommy Cash, and it's Johnny Cash, and some other things came together. Yeah, I'm one person making this entire production, can you tell?
Hello, this is J.E. Realize. Thank you for flying with us today.
Last time we talked about Semifinal 1 of Eurovision 2025, and now we talk about Semifinal 2. Oh wait, wasn't I supposed to do some rankings? Yeah, but I had completely forgotten about my rankings, and the video was getting long enough as it is. It broke the 1 hour mark, so I decided, I'll do a separate video talking about my rankings of the Semifinal 1 and Semifinal 2 songs. Like, what else can I do? Anyway, let's talk about the show. But what do we have this time? Well, I don't really remember what happened in the beginning of the show, but we did get the hosts. We did get this clarification we're in the second semifinal, so we may as well get on with it, just in case. I don't want to go into making yet another hour-long video. It's frustrating enough as it is. And after the first postcard, we get Australia starting us off. Now, Australia entered the contest 10 years ago, which is quite fitting with the theme of my 10 years watching Eurovision. Australia entered the contest, and I kind of had no frame of reference. I did watch the 2014 final before the 2015 final I watched live, but that wasn't the show in which Jessica Mawboy performed Sea of Flags, so how was I supposed to know that Australia was going to be in the contest until I saw the running order? And yeah, Australia in the contest? Well, long story short, a lot of European immigration and needing to bond over something led to them consuming Eurovision, and SBS seeing an opportunity in the 1980s to stream it. Wait, I said stream it. What the hell am I doing here? Stream it. My god. Broadcast! It's not called a special streaming service. Goodness sake! But yeah, Europe caught on to the fact that Australia were big fans of the competition, and after a bit of teasing and some failed ventures into Asia, finally Australia got to perform in Vienna on the 59th anniversary of the Eurovision Song Contest. Not the 60th, that's not how it works. One of the pleasant side effects of not having a contest in 2020 is that we got anniversary and annual in the same year now, even though it kind of sucks that we had to sacrifice a contest like it's Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, Australia off to a strong start back in 2015. They got 5th in 2015. They got 2nd in 2016, which basically stamped their more or less permanent participation in the contest. Kinda, sorta. They still needed to clear it up ahead of every year, which would pose a problem. But for now, things are fine. 2017, they came in 9th. 2018, they brought back Jessica Mawboy and didn't do so well. But 2019, things had changed a little bit. Australia was guaranteed by the EBU participation up to and including the 2023 contest. Meanwhile, Australia set up its own national final, and sometimes they would select acts from there, and sometimes they would decide to select the act internally based on what they saw on previous national finals. But then 2023 came and went, and things were not so sure ahead of 2024. Eventually, the EBU said, yeah, you can come, Australia, and Australia sent Electric Fields, and didn't do so well. But now it's 2025. We've been together for a decade now. Australia, what have you got for us? We got JoJo. Not JoJo, it's Gojo. Damn, so close. With the song Milkshake Man. Did I say JoJo? What I meant was white gold. I didn't realize the Got Milk commercials in the United States have infiltrated European media. And I can't believe this is a second time. I'm talking about that guy. White Gold was a character created quite a while ago by the Got Milk group. I don't know their full name. To get this, sell milk. Because it's kind of an odd thing that humans well into adulthood are drinking cow's milk. But White Gold started off as a bum with frail hair and bones and all that sort of stuff, but he was granted a guitar filled with milk, and that made him a rock legend. Apparently, I don't know if any of his songs, let alone albums, went multi-platinum. But yeah, we got White Gold in Eurovision, and at first listen from the No Context album playback, I went, is Australia trying to throw the contest? What kind of dorky song is this? What am I gonna expect from the performance? You may as well have sent in Space from Montenegro 2017. But, I mean, this is peak Eurovision. I may have a few qualms because I'm kind of worried about Eurovision backsliding, but there are worse examples of trying to pander to Eurovision, of trying to be Eurovision bait, and this does have its own charm. But in my case, it's the kind of charm that I would like to take sparingly, please. Also, that aesthetic. You got this 50s diner slash infomercial aesthetic. And also some obligatory French or you suck-ups. But overall, even though I really want to hate this song, I can't quite do it. You gotta give the devil his or their due, whatever pronouns the devil uses these days. Maybe it's just the gyrating and the pecs and that sort of stuff. I'm not really into that thing. Mom asked me if I was gay! No, I'm not! But hey, good first song for the second semifinal. This will go great with my poison cake. Next up is Montenegro? Wait, really? They're back after 3 years! Wait, they're back after 3 years, and yet the number of performers still hasn't changed, which means we're going to lose someone. I mean, I could see Moldova bowing out because Romania bowed out. Maybe Luxembourg gave up on the contest, even though they did relatively well last year. Heck, maybe Denmark or Malta bowed out of the contest after repeated bad results, which would suck if it were Denmark for reasons I will get into. But I'm going into this not knowing the full roster, so if you'll excuse me, I'm taking my rostro to Nina Zizic and Dobrodošli. Wait, it's not Anissa? Yeah, apparently Anissa said back in 2023 that she was supposed to represent Montenegro, but Montenegro bowed out due to, everybody say it with me, financial issues. That would of course mean we would have had our first ever American Song Contest performer in the Eurovision Song Contest, which would have been awesome. The crossover potential, you could probably build it up into something nice if you knew how to do it well, NBC. But then again, that's a rumor based on hearsay by admittedly someone who would have had skin in the game had this been pulled off. We did not get that. What we got was a Balkan ballad that admittedly has me asking a few questions. Like, for instance, what is with the math equations Nina Zizic seems to be uttering? Wait, excuse me, I think it's Nina Zizic? Excuse me. Either way, why should I care who this person's name is when the song is not that spectacular a song, the performance is not particularly provocative, and her voice cracks constantly. Sadly, another Montenegrin also ran, and I wouldn't be surprised if they bowed out after this year, which would suck. Okay, there needed to be a big break between when I said it was an also ran and here because some neighbors decided to blast Las Mañanitas outside. Nothing against blasting music so long as it's not hip-hop, because we get so much hip-hop getting blasted out of car stereos. But, content match. Next up is Ireland, and Ireland has a lot to prove after 2024 and Bambi Thug. So, what have they sent for us? And it's a song called Like a Party by Emmy. Wait. Like a Party. Not Laika. Not like a prayer, but like Laika, the Russian space dog. You ever heard of Laika? Well, I did, and not just because my history classes have not been a total failure, but there was a song in the Norwegian final in 2016 about Laika. Meaning, I have 2 nickels. Which isn't much, but it's weird that it happened in 2 Eurovision circuits. After all this, I hope Laika still really loves the disco. That is assuming Laika is still alive, which, On the other hand, we get so many songs about people, about humans. We get a song about Malta I, for instance, Cleopatra from the same country just a year before. We get a song about Charlie Chaplin, Mrs. Caroline Robinson, and even some random person named Judy. So, yeah, I would love to have more songs about dogs, like Balto, for instance. Balto's story is pretty legendary. Or a song about Old Yeller, that's a classic. Or heck, even Martha from Martha Speaks if we're gonna go fictional. As for the song itself, real nice bop, trying to be Rockefeller Street. But that's the thing. I don't know if Ireland is gonna make it. Not because the song is bad. It's honestly a nice bop, but it does kind of feel a little safe. Not a terrible song by any means. I hope this song gets its coverage, gets played in the discotheques. Well, modern discotheques. I don't know if discotheques play disco anymore. But yeah, here's hoping, Ireland. I mean, I am kind of worried, and for good reason. Their 2022 song didn't make it. The hosts give us a bit of a break ahead of the next song, which they say is going to be a world first. Well, this should be interesting, at least. Latvia also has something to prove after qualifying for the first time in 8 years last year, so let's see what they sent. They sent in Tautu Matus with the song Berman Limey. Oh, goodness sake. I have several questions after seeing this performance. It's not like all of the song is just overly bad. I mean, you do have some pretty decent singing bits, like the Burman, 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 but then I go, everybody what now? But then there are a lot of other things that just make me go, what? Like when they break through this curtain of crystals? Like, you gotta have a curtain of crystals? They have this weird part where the voices just kind of mix together in a cacophony, like a straight up cacophony, and they go all swa, 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 swa. You got the costumes, which are more than gauche. You got the double eye eyelids. You got monkey tails for some reason. This is a lot like Estonia's 2004 song, and I wasn't a fan of that song, and to add insult to injury, it only barely missed qualification. It came in 11th. And this song, I try when it comes to liking songs, but this song, am I going to ever truly like it? Never, 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 never. Yeah, I don't know what the heavenly script this is, but this is never gonna fly. Next up is Armenia. This was the last song I heard in my no context playthrough. It's by Parg, it's called Survivor. And wait, you play this and you're going, wait, am I about to watch Monday Night Raw? Is this the song that the Secretary of Education's husband is playing for his shows? I can't believe I actually said that. r/brand new sentence. This is the kind of song that you would pump weights for. It's real gritty, it's real hard into it. You got this guy, bare-chested and hairy and probably oiled up, running down this treadmill. Like, this song makes me think of songs like Invincible or Legendary from, I think it was, like, Skillet or something like that. Yeah, makes me think of a lot of Skillet songs. So, yeah, I think if you're into a Skillet song, I think this song would definitely be right up your alley. And if my shirtless Avenger brother is listening to this, yeah, you want to play some random Eurovision songs? Like, we gave you Arcade, we gave you Måneskin, we gave you Voila. At least do some respect by shopping around. Like, this would be perfect for you, you and your A&B loving self. But yeah, big fan, high hopes, even if he said staying aliver to rhyme with survivor. Yeah. Next up is Austria. We still don't have an automatic qualifier. We're just going to Austria. Okay, we got JJ. Still so close. We could have had JoJo versus JoJo. Instead, we have Gojo versus JJ. What sort of fight is that? I don't even watch JoJo. The song is called Wasted Love, and stage direction is quite interesting, but I gotta give props for the voice. It's pretty sound. It's a pretty sound voice, and really goes for the opera feel. And then the beat drops. Yeah, it's one of those. Like, you would think, oh, this is gonna be pretty good, and then you think, oh, this might actually be the next La Forza. Like, if Elena Nechaeva was Forza Motorsport, this is Forza Horizon. Yeah, I also have some hopes for this song to do well. And Austria recently has been sending in quality. They've just not always been recognized for that quality. We'll see how this goes. It's certainly trippy to watch, but hey, I feel like I had a time. Then we have an intermission before going to the next song, where one of the hosts ends up crowd surfing, asks a few questions of the audience. There's this one person who came from Brazil mentioned, and then there's this other person who just struggled to answer the question. Maybe she doesn't really know that well English. And then there's this other person who was asked about his age, says, I'm 55, but she says, oh, then you're much too young for this one party I know. I'm going, wait, what? A party in which being 55 is not old enough? Why, yes! Apparently there is a Eurovision disco for 60 plus people. Which admittedly is kind of cool. Like, we need a few more spaces in which the elders can, you know, socialize. You learn something new every day. Okay, next performance is United Kingdom, but they're an automatic qualifier, so let's move on to Greece. This is, I think it's pronounced Claudia, because the V could be a U, with the song Asteromata. And it's got some power behind it. It takes a while to get there, but, you know, kind of reminds me of their 2018 entry. But there are a few problems. First off, I can't remember the song, and I've played it multiple times. That's not great. I mean, Onero Mu in 2018, that song failed to qualify, so I am immediately worried about Asteromata's chances. This is gonna have to fight to stay alive. I wish I had better tidings. Next up, we got Lithuania with Catharsis. Well, I would certainly love some of that. Well, it's Catharsis with Tevo Akis. And I respect the song quite a bit. It's basically generally on one track through most of the song. It just starts off slow, but then it builds and builds over the song, and you get this menacing atmosphere getting added more and more until you're at the end and the guy is just shouting Tevo, Tevo, Tevo over and over again. Honestly, I don't hate it. I kind of admire it for being bold like that. It's quite the angsty song. Will that be enough to qualify, though? I'm kind of disappointed in Lithuania. I have been seeing Lithuania really punch above its weight class through the 2020s. I am worried that this is the time it made a fatal miscalculation and got sucker punched in the jaw. But maybe I'm worried for nothing. It would be quite the song to send to the final. Next up, we got Malta with Mirjana Conte. Is she related to Gabri Ponte? I don't know. But apparently she has a secret. Maybe the Cypriot performer's name, perhaps? But the song is called Serving, and quite the modern pop entry, almost annoyingly so. That's how you know it's a modern pop entry, am I right? Honestly feels like this came out of Malta Eurovision Song Contest, the Maltese national final. Like it had to fight through there, where it's basically a revolving door of mostly returning contestants. I mean, Maltese Eurovision fans have been waiting for Brooke over and over and over and over and over again, and they finally get a Brooke, but not Malta Brooke. They got Ireland Brooke. How do you even manage that? And then we get her doing the do re mi fa sa sa serving thing. Are you trying to summon the ghost of Jan Tegan? I thought we put the ghost to rest last year. Like, let the man rest. But still, more like bouncing at the end. Like, as I said, quite the annoying pop entry. Maybe it has fans. Maybe that's what gets it over the finish line. Let's keep in mind that the United Kingdom, Malta, Ireland, and Australia have not been in the same grand final at the same time. I know I'm being redundant with that statement, but it kinda hits the point. All four of these countries have not been in the same grand final, and it's usually Malta or Ireland that comes up short, and the UK falling into last for a lot of its tenure in the 21st century, that doesn't help matters either. But can they do it? Australia sent in quite the Eurovision style song, and they're a favorite with the juries, but in the semifinals the juries aren't gonna save them, for good or bad. Ireland and Malta sent in quite the bops, but I'm not particularly confident in either of them, particularly Malta. But maybe one day we'll see it. We'll have all four countries here, and we'll have a proper English-speaking voting bloc. Next up is the country of Georgia, not the state of Georgia, with Miriam Shengalia and the song Freedom. And this song is weird. Now, I won't really take for granted Georgia being a little esoteric in their Eurovision entries anymore after what happened with Firefighter. But dang, it's hard to appreciate this song. I mean, parts of it are kind of unintentionally funny. Like, for instance, the song starts and you think your Windows or Mac PC booted up. But other parts, they're questionable. Like, this feels like 2, maybe 3 songs were, like, cobbled together into one. They recycled the dancers from their 2007 entry, except without the swords. And overall, the ballad is take it or leave it, and the parts that are slow are just too uninteresting. And the spell she casts at the end, because apparently chanting Avada Kedavra, I speak to destroy, is something to be emulated. Yeah, this just isn't right for me. Like, it's playing it too safe in some areas and being too bold in others, and overall they don't cancel each other out. Maybe next year. Maybe next year you have something that interests me. After all, I did favor you over Serbia in 2022. And then we go into another intermission where we see one of the hosts going through all the commentator booths, or rather some of them, because we can't just talk about Graham Norton. We get a stop at the Icelandic commentary booth where we get this explanation that 96% of Icelandic viewers watch Eurovision. To go over this number, probably again, the reason why is multiple. One is the contest is earlier in the day, local time. Second of which is the lack of content in general with which Eurovision competes. And third is, well, there's not much to do in Iceland to begin with, is there? But yeah, a lot of reasons why Iceland is king when it comes to per number of people. We stop by the Danish booth and, we see someone who's a bit of a Eurovision fan, at least enough to put a bunch of flags up there, including the Romanian flag. Have they come back too? Well, that would be an interesting trade. Moldova for Romania, equivalent exchange. Maybe they're working out a Romanian reunification. But two problems with that. One is it's not happening last year, and two, it's not the Irish reunification that we were promised by Star Trek. And this is how you get this episode banned in Ireland. But let's put the Romanian reunification ideas aside, leave that to the people on the ground, and go over the flags a little bit. We didn't just see flags of current performers, we also saw quite a few other things. I mean, we did see someone apparently coming in from Brazil. We also saw the flag of Turkey, who hasn't been in the contest for a while. Maybe in the 2030s we'll see them back, or maybe they'll be in their own Asian version of the contest. Not Turkvision, but a proper Asian version of the contest. There's a flag of Liechtenstein I remember seeing in the audience. Like, Liechtenstein can join, like, if they want to, pay the EBU admission fee. Like, you're so eager and yet you don't want to pay for it? We got other countries. I noticed there was a flag from Chile. I hope they're still broadcasting the contest over there. I hear Canal 11 is not broadcasting it anymore. It's off to some other channel. I saw flags of Venezuela, because why not? And also to bring it home, we got a flag of power. Then we stopped by the Swiss booth. We got a German commentator. We talked with the French commentator. Whatever. Next qualifier is shown. It's the French. And then we get the hosts sweeping up the sand from the last performance. Fake sweeping, of course, because, you gotta leave it to the actual crew. They just want it to look like they're helping. That's a tale as old as time. But one thought had popped into my head from this. Wait, Sand? That's the name of the song that Denmark sent last year. This would be very amusing if they took that nugget and decided to make that the next song up. Make it a little Easter egg for those who watch the semifinals, because let's face it, Denmark hasn't been in the grand final for a while. And next up is Denmark. Oh, that is so hilarious. Okay, that is brilliant scheduling right there. I could not have imagined anything better, or maybe I did. Yeah, I guess I did, but not this time. I was about same level. Now here's a little secret I want you to know about Denmark. And that is because, according to a current internet joke, I'm not living in California. I'm living in New Denmark. Yeah, President had been boasting about wanting to buy Canada, wanting to buy Greenland, and all this other sort of stuff that it led some people to say, wait, if the US can buy countries willy-nilly, why can't Canada buy California? California is pretty closely aligned politically with Canada, and we would get double the population, Silicon Valley, and Hollywood, and they would get free universal health care. None of this Medi-Cal nonsense. And then one French person in the Philippines had thought of something even more hilarious. Why doesn't Denmark buy California? It's so absurd when you think about it. If California was bought by Canada, that would more or less double the Canadian population. It was only recently where Canada surpassed California in population because California needs to get their standard of living stuff sorted out. But Denmark? Denmark has practically no history in California. I guess there are a little few Danish enclaves here and there, but the closest Nordic enclave I can think of is Kingsburg. That's a Swedish enclave. Quite a darling little place, though. You should visit it on the night of the Eurovision Grand Final. Well, actually, it's the third weekend of May, but you get what I mean. I hate to tell you my secret, but I kind of want to see if I can get away with sending an entry to Danish broadcasting and see if they can submit me to compete in Dansk Melody Grand Prix. I mean, they would need that. They've been NQing for so long as they don't have a good entry like, say, Hallucination, we would be great. We would be perfect. We would all get along fine. And Denmark's song is performed by Sissel, and it's called Hallucination. I'm losing it. I thought when I first played through, well, I thought multiple things. I thought this was performed by a boy. Clearly not. At least not from what I could tell. But I thought this was a Swedish entry. It really threw me for a loop when I found out that Bara Bara Bastu was sent by Sweden. But yeah, Denmark sent in this, to put it nicely, Universe by Molly Sandin knockoff. Okay, fun fact about Fire Saga, you know, the movie. Sigrid's singing voice is actually that of Molly Sandin, you know, the person who sang Universe. Hallucination is otherwise a really well-made song, and I think that Denmark stands a pretty good chance of getting in, which is what really ticks me off. If they do get in, then that means Denmark won't be so eager to take a joke entry up on their offer because they're so desperate for anything. And I hate that mindset of preying on desperation. But what's my other choice? San Marino? Nothing against San Marino, but really, it's San Marino. They logistically can't offer much. Next up is, hey Mr. Kiss, let us dance. Next up is Czechia. I'll get into that weird Miss Kiss Kiss Bang reference in a moment, but in a way, this is Czechia's 10th year in the contest. Not really, but when you think about it, kinda sorta. They did compete in 2007, 2008, 2009, but they did abhorrently. Like, the 2007 entry was mostly not their fault. They just competed in an over-bloated semifinal, but 2008, 2009, you can tell they were not very sure about what to send. Then they came back to the contest only after the Great Recession ended, kinda sorta mostly, and they sent us Hope Never Dies, which, while it didn't qualify, it did do substantially better than their previous entries, and in 2016 they even got into the grand final. In fact, my reaction was so great I had to be kicked out of my college because of it. Luckily, I was about to graduate anyway, so, Pontius Pilate, washing my hands. Okay, the /HJ stuff aside, since then, they've been sending in mostly contemporary entries. I mean, 2017 was a bit of a lull, but 2018 kicked it off with Miklas Josef. And then from there, it's mostly been the same thing, except for 2023. Sometimes they do pretty well. Sometimes not so much, as we saw from last year. And it especially must have hurt Czechia to know that not only were they so close to qualifying in that semifinal, but they didn't even get called up when Just Klein was disqualified. That must have especially hurt. Well, let's hope there are no disqualifications this time around. And go on to Adon Exis and the song Kiss Kiss Goodbye. Another song I was looking forward to. I kind of alluded to this. I was looking forward to Hallucination when I was listening to it on my no context playthrough. But Kiss Kiss Goodbye, another good one. It has that actually Western feel. Like, very Western. Like, they effectively added a little bit more on what Hope did back in 2022. And then they kind of made things a little interesting with the outfit. Guy looks like Freddie Mercury, which, to be honest, considering this is Western music we're talking about, and that gay cowboys were the norm back then before they got reappropriated by a person whose airport in Santa Ana is currently being renamed away from, I guess it kinda sorta makes sense if you're into that historical context. It's honestly a really nice song. There were a few points in which the song kinda felt a little too different for my liking, but overall, the package is solid. Really good. Minus the whole thing where we got that weird reverberation, kiss, 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 goodbye sort of thing. That hopefully can be improved in the grand final, or maybe not. Here's the thing. While I love the song and even appreciate the aesthetic when I thought about it with a backward-looking mindset, I am worried that some people will not be as receptive as I And this is really starting to tick me off. Spoiler alert, I did watch the semifinal 1 results because of the whole mariachi business, so I had to do something else with my idle time to make sure it isn't idle. But after all that, I am indeed legitimately worried that this won't qualify. Like, before I watched the results, I thought this is a no-brainer. But apparently, there are negative brains in Europe. And now, next up, we got Luxembourg. We got Luxembourg back. Okay. It seems they just wanted to stick around, which means either Finland, Moldova, Serbia, or Israel has left the contest, and I don't know which one it is, and I won't know because this is how it's structured. I won't find out until the very end. But this time we got Laura Thorne and the song La Poupée Monte le Son. And if that song's name sounds familiar, you know quite a bit about Eurovision history. I gotta hand it to you. This is indeed a reference to Luxembourg's second win 60 years ago. I don't even know how they managed to ring together such continuity. It's honestly impressive. But yeah, we get this beginning with all this doll in the outfit, nice little dollhouse, and then over time we deviate from that. She breaks the mold. The dollhouse explodes, she's in her new outfit, and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, it's a well-constructed song, if a bit by the numbers, which is interesting. I mean, it's not a bad song, and so far as references to Eurovision go, this is honestly up there. I'm not particularly too invested in this song, but it's glad to see that Luxembourg had still decided to stick around. And guess who else had decided to stick around? The next country, Israel. Oh, what's that? I have received a message from the federal government. Please do read this on your review of the Eurovision Song Contest Israeli entry. As a United States citizen under the protection of three-term President Donald John Trump, I, J.E. Realize, must state that Israel is a vital military ally of the United States and the Western world. Therefore, I am obligated to rate the Israeli entry in the Eurovision Song Contest 2025 fairly and equitably, with no basis from either side of the situation happening outside of the European Broadcasting Union or the city of the 2025 contest proper. I am stating this of my free will, under no duress, real or imagined, imposed upon me by the President, his cabinet and their agencies, or the federal service workers upholding our administration. Also, Greta Thunberg does not represent all autistic people and dishonors her mom. Things you gotta do to keep yourself out of a Salvadorian prison these days. Well, the song is by Yuval Raphael, and it's called New Day Will Rise. And I'm probably not supposed to be expecting the WWE tag team, but yeah, this is what you would expect an Israeli song of this day and age to be. A very tugs at heartstrings ballad, and it does the job really well. In fact, almost concerningly well. There's even some French in there, some Hebrew. It's generally likely going to qualify and get du poids from the rest of the world vote, not just in this semifinal, but in the grand final. I mean, Israel got it twice before, and there have only been 2 instances. Okay, Israel is in, so I can't expect any other Arab countries, right? Well, next up we have Serbia. They have sent in Prink. I suppose that's a typo. And the song Mila. Okay! You know what? I like this song. Like, I don't overly hate it. I like it. It's a real callback to the days when the Balkan ballad reigned supreme in the contest. Remember those days? Late 90s, most of the 2000s. Like, real solid stuff. And then by the late 2010s, they were slowly dying, and here we are in the mid-2020s, and Serbia just decided to throw this. And honestly, while Montenegro did try this year, Serbia was an earnest attempt. In fact, more than that, it was right on the mark. It really captured the essence of what good Balkan ballads managed to do in the 2000s. Maybe the stage direction isn't perfect, but I respect it. I like it. And if this were the last Balkan ballad of all time, then this was a good note to end on. Alright, final country. We're still waiting on Finland and Moldova. My money's on Finland. And, yeah, 16th and final act is Finland. And they've sent in Erika Vikman with the song Ich komme. Just a few thoughts before we begin. First off, secrecy level. This is the only one I'll give a secrecy level to. Secrecy level 5 out of 10 because someone spoiled to me that Erika Vikman won UMK this year. Second up, wait, there are German suck-ups too. I was kind of not expecting that, but that is just wild. But it turns out it's not as German as I thought. The song is at least mostly Finnish, which I guess it's not bad. It's just such a shame that this specific song, was not the one that Finland sent in revenge of not winning with Cha Cha Cha. If they sent this song in 2024, I would be talking about a Finnish ascendancy. But instead, we're talking about the Deutsche Himmelfahrt. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Except this one is not really German. But hey, we got French, Italian, and German suck-ups. All we're missing is a Romansh entry, which does make me want to point out that one of the interval acts is about Switzerland's whole obsession with time. But now that I covered that, let's just focus on this. This is a high-octane song from beginning to end. Of course, it pumps it up near the end. Like, this is one of those songs that is so sure of itself, so confident, and so badass for doing so. My goodness sake, that outfit. It's just like the Danish outfit, but instead of blue studs, it's black leather. I can see why a lot of people would love this song. And you know what? I'm rooting for it too. I still am not 100% confident that Finland has nailed all the marks with this one, but I can see it doing really well in the contest. I don't know if they could win. I mean, after all, it performed last in semifinal 2. If it gets drawn for the first half of the grand final, it's coming up first, which is going to derail its momentum. But for now, strong entry, and I'm, of course, expecting this to qualify. And that's all of the songs? Wait, really? Now, of course, I hadn't covered the automatic qualifier songs, but they're there, they exist. There was one song that I noticed wasn't on the list, and that was Ma Meilleure Ennemie. I heard some people say that this was the Eurovision entry. I looked, I could not find it on the Eurovision registry, and then I found out that it was not from Eurovision. It was in fact a song from the League of Legends spin-off Arcane. You know what they say, loving you is a losing game. But glad we got rid of that Nelson Mandela effect right there. That leaves us with just 37 songs. I do wonder how Eurovision is going to have all countries in the world compete in 50 years. How are they going to manage that? I, of course, am referencing the Acts 2014 Interval Act, which doesn't even exist on YouTube anymore, except for a few fan recordings. Probably those will be Acts too. Even though I did find it quite a cacophony, it was very insightful, and I would have wished that Eurovision would have kept it up. Okay, what else do we have? Well, I've mentioned the interval act of, you know, the time dance and all that sort of stuff. We're already past the point where the voting had opened. There was some behind the scenes work on the postcards. We did have a segment in which we saw 3 big Eurovision fans talk about their love of the contest and then get invited to the 2025. Oh, goodness, no. They had Welcome Home in the font. They had it on a card. It was that easy. They did all the work. They could have totally made Welcome Home the slogan. But I digress. Then we go back to the green room and spend a bunch of time in the green room. Okay, there was one good moment I remember where one of the hosts was hanging out with Erika Wickman, and the host was saying, oh, you know German. Okay, I'm going to say, here's dinner, and you're going to reply with ich komme. And I personally assumed that she meant she was going to say it in German, so I would have been prepared to say ich komme, and then the host said the line in German, and Erika was just bumbling and confused. I know that these artists are probably not going to put their best face on when they're in the green room, but it's not like the cameras are off them when they're in the green room. And just watching Erika Wickman just bumbling through confused, part of me feels amused and part of me feels kind of sorry for these people. Especially since this is Sweden. I need to make sure I don't say Sweden instead of Switzerland. Like, this has been one of the big challenges. Admittedly, this was a challenge I faced last year when the contest was hosted in Sweden. This was all Switzerland's doing. They could have put in more segments, but they ultimately didn't. Either that or they decided that the green room stuff was worth doing. Again, one of those singing show aspects I can never really get behind. Okay, let's wrap this up. Again, I did not see the qualifiers. I'm holding off on that until another video. As for the voting, the reason that I said I didn't vote in Semifinal 1 is because, well, I'm playing the game. California is Denmark now for some reason. That means I vote under the Danish banner, which sucks because Denmark has a good chance of qualifying with a good song that I otherwise would have voted highly for, so I decided to just not vote out of protest this time. I was originally planning to vote in both semifinals, but there were a few problems. One, I didn't really have the funds to vote in all three shows, and two, even though the original plan was to have a say in the semifinals to not feel so much guilt over not voting, well, in this case, if Denmark loses, then that's my chance. Why rock the boat? Play the game strategically. I'll talk about my ranking of semifinal 2 later on. Finally, I want to close out this video by talking about the letter I sent to Eurovision after the 2024 contest. And here's the response they gave me. Yeah! Nothing! Now, I know that they like people to just read the FAQ and hopefully they don't need to answer. But in my case, I wanted to ask the EBU how they plan to accommodate autistic performers moving forward. Would I be able to bring any neurodiversity symbols or flags? Yeah, this is one of them. I had it made a few weeks ago. Because it turns out, I'm not only autistic, I may also have ADHD. There are a lot of things that indicate that I may be ADHD-er as well. But I need to get that verified. Yeah, it's helpful if you can get an official diagnosis, which is what I want to do. That does run me the risk of getting in trouble, particularly with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, but I'm already in trouble with him for being autistic and being diagnosed officially without my consent. It's water under the bridge at this point. But yeah, there have been only a handful of autistic performers in the contest, and unless there are any ADHD performers this year, no ADHD performers that I can think of, I would be a Eurovision first. But how am I going to do that if I'm intimidated by my surroundings, right? I mean, Eurovision, I know you probably are too busy and you probably think I asked a nothing question, but what I asked was a pretty legitimate question. We neurodivergent folks have participated in and otherwise contributed to the health and well-being of the contest, and I am asking, at least on behalf of myself, what you are willing to do with that moving forward. I mean, I shouldn't really blame a bureaucracy for being a bureaucracy, But Eurovision has done a lot of questionable things that just kind of irk me. And hopefully they don't do much more anytime soon. I would love it if they would send me back a response. Maybe I should just resend the letter I sent. And heck, maybe if this has enough likes, let's say if this video has 100 likes, that's an impossible number. I'm just putting it impossible. If this video has 100 likes, I will read that letter to you. But for now, I gotta do a lot more research. It's the morning of the grand final when I'm recording this, which wouldn't be a bad thing if I'm in Europe. I would still have plenty of time. But it's Los Angeles time. It starts at noon local time. I am on a crunch to do as much as I can to put down as many authentic reactions as I can before the contest starts. But do wish me luck. Do the feedback thing, like, comment, subscribe, or dislike, because I am very legitimately afraid of 2025 America right now. No, seriously. I'll see you next time. Hasta la sintonía.